we'll just say prayers quickly. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatripatam Ham Vande Shri Guru Dina Taranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram Gurve Gaur Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam
Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiriyet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. Hare Krishna. So we'll start from 8.3, but 8.2, I just wanted to read this description just to see what's going on. I'll start the reading and then please take turns after that. In the midst of the ocean of milk, there is a very high and beautiful mountain that has an altitude of 10,000 yojanas or 80,000 miles. This mountain is known as Trikut. In a valley of Trikut, there is a nice garden named Ritumat, which was constructed by Varuna. And in that area, there is a very nice lake. Once the chief of the elephants, along with female elephants, went to enjoy bathing in that lake, and they disturbed the inhabitants of the water. Because of this, the chief crocodile in that water, who was very powerful, immediately attacked the elephant's leg. Thus, there ensued a great fight between the elephant and the crocodile. This fight continued for 1,000 years. Neither the elephant nor the crocodile died, but since they were in the water, the elephant gradually became weak, whereas the power of the crocodile increased more and more. Thus, the crocodile became more and more encouraged. Then the elephant, being helpless and seeing that there was no other way for his protection, sought shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This was 8th Canto, Chapter 2, Elephant Gajendra's Crisis. So a war is going on between Crocodile and Gajendra. Gajendra is caught by the crocodile and he's losing power, whereas Crocodile is gaining power. And this struggle has been going on for 1,000 years in the valley of Mountain Trikut. So then comes 8.3, Gajendra's Prayers of Surrender. So these are the prayers that we will read today. So let's start from first verse. We'll, just like we do typically, recite, lead and follow. Shri Bhadraya Niruvacha. Shri Bhadraya Niruvacha. Evam Vyavasito Buddhaya. Evam Vyavasito Buddhaya. Samadhaya Manoridi. Samadhaya Manoridi. Jajapa Paramam Japyam. Jajapa Paramam Japyam. Prag Janmani Anushikshitam. Okay, anyone wants to read this?
I can do that, Mataji.
I can read.
Sure. Mataji, go ahead. Navya, you read the next one.
So just translation and purport, right, Mataji? Or?
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Sri Shukadev Goswami continued. Thereafter, the king of the elephants, Gajendra, fixed his mind in his heart with perfect intelligence and chanted a mantra which he had learned in his previous birth as Indradyumna and which he remembered by the grace of Krishna. Purport. Such remembrance is described in Bhagavad Gita 6.43 to 44. तत्र तं बुद्धया संयोगं लब्धे पूर्वदेहिकं यतते च ततो भूयः संसिद्धौ कुरुनन्दन पूर्व पूर्वाभायस पूर्वभयसेन तैनैव ह्रियते ह्यवश्योऽपि सः. In these verses, it is assured that even if a person engaged in devotional service falls down, he is not degraded but is placed in a position in which he will, in due course of time, remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As explained later, Gajendra was formerly King Indradyumna, and somehow or other in his next life he became king of the elephants. Now Gajendra was in danger, and although he was in a body other than that of a human being, he remembered the stotra he had chanted in his previous life. Yatate chatato bhuyah samsiddhau kurunandana. To enable one to achieve perfection, Krishna gives one the chance to remember him again. This is proved here, for although the king of the elephants, Gajendra, was put in danger, this was a chance for him to remember his previous devotional activities so that he could immediately be rescued by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is imperative, therefore, that all devotees in Krishna consciousness practice chanting some mantra. Certainly, one should chant the Hare Krishna mantra, which is the Maha mantra or great mantra, and also one should practice chanting Chintamani Prakara Satmashu or the Narsimha Stotra. Ito Narsimha Parto Narsimho Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsimha. Every devotee should practice in order to chant some mantra perfectly so that even though he may be imperfect in spiritual consciousness in this life, in his next life he will not forget Krishna consciousness, even if he becomes an animal. Of course, a devotee should try to perfect his Krishna consciousness in this life, for simply by understanding Krishna and his instructions, after giving up this body, one can return home back to Godhead. Even if there is some fall down, practice of Krishna consciousness never goes in vain. For example, Ajamila, in his boyhood, practiced chanting the name of Narayana under the direction of his father. But later, in his youth, he fell down and became a drunkard, woman hunter, rogue, and thief. Nonetheless, because of chanting the name of Narayan for the purpose of calling his son, whom he had named Narayan, he became advanced, even though he was involved in sinful activities. Therefore, we should not forget the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra under any circumstances. It will help us in the greatest danger, as we will find in the life of Gajendra. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, there is a lot of disturbance coming.
From
Is
my
there?
side, maybe?
Huh.
I don't know, but like your voice is completely clear to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like a
sorry.
lot of
We just
static.
reconnect again, okay?
Okay, sure. Okay, so I'll just summarize this quickly. So this verse, the first verse is saying that King of Elephants Gajendra fixed his mind with perfect intelligence and chanted this mantra that he had learned in his previous birth as King Indradyumna, and which he now remembered by the grace of Krishna. Mataji, would you like to share, briefly summarize this verse? Let's see if your voice is clear. Oh, she's not here yet. Baby Gaurangi Mataji, would you like to summarize this verse? Let's see if we can hear you more clearly now.
Mataji, can you please go ahead and summarize? Neil is back from school. I just
Sure,
want to
sure.
say.
And now your voice is perfectly clear.
And then because I changed to mobile now in front
Oh,
instead of the laptop.
oh,
Yeah.
this is perfectly clear now. Okay.
Okay. Sorry,
Okay,
Mataji,
yes.
I didn't hear that. Hare
Sure,
Krishna.
no problem. So, okay, yeah, so this verse is saying that now Gajendra was struggling for his life and he fixed his mind perfectly on Krishna. Hare Krishna, Poonam Mataji, thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
हरे कृष्णा। तो हम बस अब ये बात कर रहे थे कि गजेंद्र जो है वो क्रोकोडाइल के मुंह में फंसा हुआ है उसका पैर, और 1000 साल से ये फाइट चल रही है। और अब वो भगवान की शरण ले रहा है। सो ही इज ऑफरिंग सम प्रेयर्स टू द लॉर्ड। तो वो प्रेयर्स उसको पिछले जन्म से याद हैं, जब वो किंग इंद्रद्युम्न था। और प्रभुपाद बता रहे हैं परपुट में दैट we should fix our mind on Hare Krishna Mahamantra, or some other great mantras also he has mentioned, जैसे कि नरसिम्हा स्तोत्र, इतो नरसिम्हा परितो नरसिम्हा. We should practice because these Vedic mantras, these chants are purifying not only for this life, but by chance, if we get another life and are in great dangers, then they will save us, like you can see in the life of Gajendra. Even if one becomes an animal, we can see that one will not forget Krishna consciousness from previous life, and that will carry on. तो इसलिए spiritual आध्यात्मिक जो भी करते हैं वो आगे जाता है, carry होता रहता है. um, so Krishna gave him a chance to remember him again, and by mercy of Krishna, he remembered those prayers and offered those same prayers that he used to chant as Indradyumna, and now he was offering them to the Lord to save himself and to show his surrender. So Prabhupada is saying it will help us in the greatest danger as we find in the life of Gajendra. Anybody else wants to share anything?
हरे कृष्णा नारंगी माता जी.
Hare
माता जी,
Krishna.
यू सेड कि ये फाइट जो है 1000 साल से चल रही है. सो उन दोनों के बीच ये लड़ाई 1000 साल चली है ऑलमोस्ट. एंड
Yes,
देन
Mataji.
गजेंद्र रिमेम्बर्ड लॉर्ड. अच्छा.
1000 साल से चल रही थी. And and this is happening somewhere else. I mean, this is not happening in this on this planet, because Prabhupada described it in the last chapter that it was happening somewhere else. He said on Trikut Parvat. I don't know where exactly, but on Trikut Parvat, ocean of milk, in the midst of the ocean of milk, Sheer Sagar mein, वहीं पर. There is a mountain called Trikut, and in that valley. And so the time also may be different. Actually, time will be much more than 1000 human years. It may be much more actually. Okay, let's continue reading.
Mataji, just wanted to ask real quick, based on your hearing or reading anywhere else, like, do you happen to know which prayers Gajendra chanted by any chance?
I don't know, Mataji. That's why I was saying this is my first time reading Gajendra prayers and really wanted to read them in this Kartik. So let's see if Prabhupada clarifies that in the purport anywhere. And now Gajendra is starting to speak. Would you like to read, Mataji?
Hare Krishna. I'm not sure also, mine also first time reading, but based upon what I always thought about it, is that whatever Gajendra says, like the shlokas and stuff that Gajendra says, and he offers to the Lord, and I've heard those, that he offers, and when Gajendra will speak, he will address the Lord with prayers, and those are I think Gajendra Moksha prayers, in my understanding.
So I think what you are saying is that he said some prayers which brought the Lord there. And then what he offered to what he said to the Lord was different. So he invoked the presence of the Lord through certain prayers that he remembered from last birth.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification.
And then he offered, then he spoke to the Lord. Okay, Navya wants to read. Navya, yes, go ahead, please.
Shri Gajendra Vacha Om Namo Bhagavate Tasami
Tasmai.
यथा
Let us follow you.
Sorry.
Shri Gajendra Uvacha.
Shri Gajendra
ॐ नमो भगवते तस्मै
Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai.
यथा एकात् सिद्धे आत्मकाम्
Yata
आत्मका
पुरुषादि बीजया
Purushayadi Vijaya
परे अस्याभिधीमहि
Paresayadi Dhimahi. Go ahead.
Translation. The king of elephants, Gajendra, said, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Person, Vasudev. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Because of him, this material body acts due to the presence of spirit, and he is therefore the root cause of everyone. He is worshipable for such exalted persons such as Brahma and Shiva, and he has entered the heart of every living being. Let me meditate upon him. Purport. In this verse, the words Eta Sid Atmakam are very important. The material body certainly consists only of material elements, but when one awakens to Krishna conscious understanding, the body is no longer material but spiritual. The material body is meant for sense enjoyment, whereas the spiritual body engages in the transcendental, loving service of the Lord. Therefore, a devotee who engages in the service of the Supreme Lord and who constantly thinks of him should never be considered to have a material body. It is therefore enjoined, Guru Sunaramati, one should stop thinking of the spiritual master as an ordinary human being with a material body. Arkya Vishnu Siladihi. Everyone knows that the deity in the temple is made of stone, but to think that deity is merely stone is an offense. Similarly, to think that the body of the spiritual master consists of material ingredients is offensive. Atheists think that devotees foolishly worship a stone statue as God and an ordinary man as Guru. The fact is, however, that by the grace of Krishna's omnipotence, the so-called stone statue of the deity is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the body of the spiritual master is directly spiritual. A pure devotee who is engaged in unalloyed devotional service should be understood to be situated on the transcendental platform. Sagunyam Samyetan Brahma Puyaya Kalpate. Let us therefore offer our obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose mercy so-called material things also become spiritual when they are engaged in spiritual activity.
Let's discuss till here. Nabha, you want to share anything?
I think the point that Prabhupada is mostly covering just in the purport is that he's mostly saying that sometimes we think that the spiritual master is just another human, and that the deity is just made out of stone or marble and is just being blindly worshipped. But he is making the point that it's by the energy of the Lord, he's basically being seen as the Guru is seen as spiritual, and the deity is actually the God himself.
Yeah, so this is Gajendra now offering prayers to the Supreme Lord. He's saying Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai. Like we say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So like that he's invoking the Lord. And then he's offering him glorification. He's saying that because of him, this material body acts due to the presence of spirit. And he is the root cause of everyone, like we say, cause of all causes. He is worshipable even for exalted persons like Brahma and Shiva, and he has entered the heart of every living being. Let me meditate upon him. So he's meditating upon the Lord. So in purport, Prabhupada is saying, he's focusing mostly on this statement. Because of him, the material body acts due to the presence of spirit. So Prabhupada is saying, giving us the difference between matter and spirit, that if this material body is meant for sense enjoyment. So those who identify with this body, they just are engaged in sense enjoyment, in bhoga. But the spirit soul's purpose is to serve the Lord. His constitutional position is the servant of the Lord. So the spiritual body is engaged in the service. So a devotee who is always engaged in service of the Lord, he is not considered to have a material body. His body also becomes spiritual. And then Prabhupada is also saying the same thing about deity, that deity is none other than the Lord himself. So even though it is the stone is matter, but this is non-different from the Lord because of the Lord's presence in it. Similarly, the spirit soul who's completely engaged in pure devotional service, even though they may be in the material body, they are also completely spiritual. Just like our spiritual master is being a pure devotee, is completely uninterruptedly committedly, consistently, persistently engaged in pure devotional service. So their body is also not considered material. So we should not think of them as an ordinary human. So they are on the transcendental platform. And this is by the Supreme Lord's mercy that even material things become spiritual. So whoever is in constant contact with the Supreme Lord through service, that person has become spiritual because they're engaged in spiritual activity. Then let's read further.
Omkara, Pranava, is the symbolic sound representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Tat Sat iti nirdesho pramnas triveda smarta. The three words Om Tat Sat immediately invoke the Supreme Person. Therefore, Krishna says that he is Omkara in all the Vedic mantras. Pranva Sarva Vedeshu. The Vedic mantras are pronounced beginning with Omkara to indicate immediately the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam, for example, begins with the words Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. There is no difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudev, and Omkara, Pranava. We should be careful to understand that Omkara does not indicate anything nirkara or formless. Indeed, this verse immediately says Om Namo Bhagavate. Bhagwan is a person. Thus, Omkara is the representation of the Supreme Person. Omkara is not meant to be impersonal, as the Mayavadi philosophers consider it to be. This is distinctly expressed here by the word Purusha. The Supreme Truth addressed by Omkara is Purush, and the Supreme Person. He is not impersonal. Unless he is person, how can he control the great stalwart controllers of this universe? Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva are the supreme controllers of this universe. But Lord Vishnu is offered obeisances by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Therefore, this verse uses the word Parasya, which indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by exalted demigods. Parasya means Parameshwar. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are Ishvaras, great controllers, but Lord Vishnu is Parameshwar, the supreme controller. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada is focusing on the word Omkara because this is how Gajendra started his prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai. So he's saying that Omkara is the sound representation of the Lord. And a lot of Vedic mantras start with the word Omkara because we are invoking the Supreme Person, like Om Tat Sat, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, like that. Om, they start with Om because we are using this sound representation of the Lord to call to him. But it does not mean that he is formless or nirakar, which many Mayavadis think. He is Bhagwan. That's why Om Namo Bhagavate word comes. Bhagavate is a person. So it's refers to the Supreme Person, the Purusha. So Omkara, the Supreme Truth addressed by Omkara is Purusha. So Omkara itself is the sound representation of that Purusha. But it is calling out to the Purusha. It is referring to the Purusha, the Supreme Person. And the Prabhupada is giving this proof that the great controllers of this universe, Lord Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva, they are also Purushas. They are the controllers. They are the Ishwaras. But Krishna is Parmeshwara. He's the Maheshwara. He's the Pareshaya. He's beyond them, beyond these exalted demigods. He's even their controller. So if they are a person, they have a form, then he also has a beautiful form, and he's worshipped by these exalted demigods. So he's the Parmeshwara. I don't have anything else to share. Anybody else wants to share anything? So Gajendra said, Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai. Then he glorified the Lord by saying that because of you, the body acts due to the presence of spirit. You are the cause of everything. You are worshipable by great demigods. You live in the heart of every living being, and let me meditate upon him. Okay, let's go to the next one. Can somebody recite and read this?
I can try, Mataji.
Yes, Mata.
Krishna. Yasmin idam yataschedam.
Yasmin idam yataschedam
Yenedam ya idam swayam.
yenedam ya idam swayam
Yosmat parasmat cha paras.
yosmat parasmat cha paras
Tam prapadye swayam bhuvam.
tam prapadde swayambhuvam.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Godhead is the supreme platform on which everything rests, the ingredient by which everything has been produced, and the person who has created and is the only cause of this cosmic manifestation. Nonetheless, he is different from the cause and the result. I surrender unto him, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is self-sufficient in everything. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In Bhagavad Gita 9.4, the Lord says, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina. I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but everything rests upon my energy. Just as an earthen pot rests on the earth, the place where an earthen pot rests is also earth. Then again, the earthen pot is manufactured by a potter whose body is a product of earth. The potter's wheel with which the pot is made is an expansion of earth, and the ingredients from which the pot are made are also earth. As confirmed in the Shruti mantra, Yatho va imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yat prayanti abhisavam vishanti. The original cause of everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and after being annihilated, everything enters into him. Prakritim yanti mamikam. Thus, the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramachandra or Lord Krishna, is the original cause of everything. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme controller. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, for he is the prime cause of all causes. This is from Brahma Samhita 5.1. The Lord is the cause for everything, but there is no cause for him. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Matstani Sarvabhutani Nachaham Teshva Avastitha. Although he is everything, his personality is different from the cosmic manifestation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, would you like to summarize this?
I'll try, Mataji. So the Supreme Godhead is the supreme platform on which everything rests. So for this, Prabhupada gives the example of the earthen pot. The pot is made of soil or mud, and as long as and everything that we use or we see is all from this world, and so the pot is made by the soil, but when it disintegrates, it goes back to the soil. Whatever we use to make the pot is also made from the soil or from this world, and they also go back to earth. So everything is within this expanse. But then Prabhupada says that Krishna is not of this world, in the sense like everything belongs to him, but he is not confined by it. I hope. I'm trying.
Yes,
I'm trying.
yes,
It's a
Mataji.
little hard, Mataji. You go ahead.
No, perfect. Yeah. So the in this prayer, so this is the second prayer that Gajendra is speaking. He's saying that he's glorifying the Lord by saying that Lord is the platform on which everything rests. Just like Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, the same thing, that Maya Tadam Idam Sarvam, everything rests on me, which means that he is the source of everything. Everything comes from him. He has supplied all the ingredients for this creation. And Prabhupada has given this analogy, like you said, that the pot is made of earth, the ingredients in it is made of earth, the earth on which it rests is earth or matter. The potter's wheel that made the pot is also matter. So everything is made of the same component. So in this way, Krishna also enters into everything. He's all pervasive, he enters into everything. But like you said, he's not confined by this material creation. He's the source of everything, but he's not he enters into everything, but he's not dependent on anything material. He's not depending on this material creation. Material creation depends on him, rests on him, but he does not depend on anything. He's completely independent. So basically, the theme of this verse is that he's the cause of all causes. He supplies everything. He's the original cause. He's the source of everything, and he has no other origin. So if we trace everything back, he will be the prime cause of everything. But no cause. There is no cause for him. That's my understanding too. Other devotees would like to add anything? Any corrections, realizations? So by his energy, everything is supported. So there are so many energies of the Lord, and with his energy, everything is supported. So this analogy is it's a little bit difficult to understand, but I think if we understand, like Krishna says, everything rests upon my energy. So which means that everything is in this analogy, the pot is also matter, the earth is also matter, the ingredients within the pot is also matter, the potter's wheel is also that same earth, or instead of matter, like you were saying, soil or earth. And so it's all the same component. Similarly, Krishna's energy is pervading through everything in this world. And
Mataji, I would like to add a little bit more. One other thing I remembered is what I want to share. Like about resting, right? What does resting mean? Like if you think of a ball, and that always goes to a spot where it is stable. And could we also think that our original position is to go back to Krishna, and that is also meant by that resting? I mean, I'm trying to understand.
Mataji, I've not heard of that analogy before, but this we have heard that Krishna gives the analogy of pearl resting on the thread, and in the Sutre Mani Ganaiva in Bhagavad Gita, that all the pearls are resting on the thread. So he's all pervading. He enters through each and everything through with the help of his energies, or his energies enter into everything. And so everything is resting on him, just like pearls are resting on the thread. That analogy I've heard.
That's what I'm meaning. The ball thing was my own head thing, because I couldn't recollect the pearls. I mean, I recollected
Right.
it when I was speaking about it earlier, but I was thinking, why is Krishna using the word resting? Isn't that because of that, considering that it's the goal or the final destination of living entity? I mean, why
Sure.
are they using the word resting?
Resting as in foundation. He's the fountainhead. He's the foundation. He's the source. He's the stotra. So in that way, I think the word. But yes, we have to go back to the source. We have to go back. That's why we say go back home. That's the home. That's the source where we came from.
Cool. Thank you.
Any other understandings? Anand Kishori Mataji, anyone else? Rakshita Mataji. If not, we can go to the next one. Anyone wants to read this one?
I can read, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, please.
यस्वात्मनीदं निजमाययार्पितम्
यस्वात्मनीदं निजमाययार्पितम्
क्वचित् विभातं क्व च तत्तिरोहितम्
क्वचिद्विभातं क्व च तत्तिरोहितम्
अविद्ददृक्साक्षि उभयं तदीक्षते
अवेद्धदृक्साक्षी उभयं तदीक्षते
स आत्ममूलो अवतु मां परात् परः
स आत्ममूलो अवतु मां परात् परः.
Translation: The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by expanding his own energy, keeps this cosmic manifestation visible and again sometimes renders it invisible. He is both the supreme cause and the supreme result, the observer and the witness in all circumstances. Thus, he is transcendental to everything. May that Supreme Personality of Godhead give me protection. Purport: The Supreme Personality of Godhead has multi-potencies. Parasya Shakti Vividhaiva Shruyate. Therefore, as soon as he likes, he uses one of his potencies, and by that expansion, he creates this cosmic manifestation. Again, when the cosmic manifestation is annihilated, it rests in him. Nonetheless, he is infallibly the supreme observer. Under any circumstances, the Supreme Lord is changeless. He is simply a witness and is aloof from all creation and annihilation. Hare Krishna. So, actually, Gajendra is reciting a lot of, tattva, a lot of principles from Bhagavad Gita here. We can
see here that he's praying to the Lord, and he's glorifying this particular aspect of the Lord, that how he's able to expand his own energy and make this cosmic manifestation visible, and he also renders it invisible. And he's both the supreme cause and the supreme result. So the observer and the witness in all circumstances. So, so the Supreme Personality of Godhead has multiple potencies, manifold potencies, and he is able to manifest this cosmic manifestation, this entire universe, simply by his exhalation. He's able to manifest it all, and or the from the pores of his body. At least that's how I understood it. And then he renders it invisible. That is, it the during the dissolution of the cosmic manifestation, the universe, um, it renders it invisible. And he's both the supreme cause and the supreme result. So we read a little bit about cause and result in the previous verse also. But we'll focus here. He's both the cause and result. Um, and he's also the witness, the observer and the witness. Under any circumstance, the Supreme Lord is changeless, Prabhupada says in the purport. He's simply a witness and is aloof from all creation and annihilation. What is that verse, Mataji, from 9th chapter Bhagavad Gita, where he says he is aloof from everything?
Maya tatam jagat sarvam. Maya tatam jagat sarvam. Murti na mattasthani sarvabhutani na cha upasthita. Yeah, that. I don't remember the.
Yes, Mataji. I think it is verse number 9. Nacha ma'am, I think it's Nacha ma'am.
Next one. Nachamastani Bhut.
9.4 is this the one that I recited. Nacha ham teshvavata.
Yeah, in my unmanifested form. Yeah,
Second
so
one.
9.5 Mataji. Na chamastani bhutani pashyame yogameshwaram. Pratyabhanja bhutastu mamatma bhuta bhavana. I think that's
yes,
the one.
yes, Mataji. That I am, although I'm everywhere, I'm not part of this cosmic manifestation. That's right. And I think there's another verse later on also, text 9 also, where he's saying that all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities. So, yeah, basically, the first couple of verses of the 9th chapter is what it seems like all these verses that Gajendra is, glorifying this aspect of the Lord. That even though He's the cause, everything rests on Him. Yet everything doesn't rest in me. Yet He's aloof from everything. And how this cosmic manifestation is visible and then it's invisible. I think that is also there.
Yes.
Verse number 8, maybe. Whole cosmic order is under me, and by my will it is automatically manifested, and by my will it is annihilated in the end. So, lot of correlations here. And then in the end, the last sentence, he is praying to the Lord to protect him. He's saying that, please, may that Supreme Lord give me protection. Yes, Mataji, that's all I have to share. Anybody else would like to add and correct?
Yeah, he's glorifying various aspects of the Lord in relation to this cosmic creation. Like, how is the cause of everything? How is the supreme controller worshipped by the demigods? How he sometimes annihilates, sometimes manifests this cosmic creation. He's a supreme cause and result. He's an observer and witness, yet he's transcendental to everything. Let's read maybe a couple more if possible. Let me see how this is not long either. Anyone wants to read this one? 8.3.5. Okay, I can read this. Was somebody else available? Not. Rakshita Mataji, were you going to read?
माताजी मैं ड्राइव कर रही हूँ
Okay,
मैं
okay, no
कान
problem.
में सुन रही हूँ lecture.
I can read this one. कालेन पञ्च त्वमितेषु कृत्स्नशो कालेन पञ्च त्वमितेषु कृत्स्नशो लोकेषु पालेषु च सर्वहेतुषु लोकेषु
लोकेषु पालेषु सर्वहेतुषु
तमस्तदासेद्गहं गभीरम्
गहनं गभीरं
गम्भीरम्
यस्तस्य पारे विविराजते विभु
यस्तस्य पारे विराजते विभुः.
Translation. In due course of time, when all the causative and the effective manifestations of the universe, including the planets and their directors and maintainers, are annihilated, there is a situation of dense darkness. Above this darkness, however, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I take shelter of his lotus feet. Purport. From the Vedic mantras, we understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is above everything. He is supreme above all the demigods, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. He is the supreme controller. When everything disappears by the influence of his energy, the cosmic situation is one of dense darkness. The Supreme Lord, however, is the sunshine, as confirmed in the Vedic mantras. Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. In our daily experience, when we on earth are in the darkness of night, the sun is always luminous somewhere in the sky. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Sun, always remains luminous, even when the entire cosmic manifestation is annihilated in due course of time. So, Lord Gajendra is further glorifying the Lord by saying that even when all these things that he has described so far, the whole cosmic creation is annihilated, all the causes, all the effective manifestations, everything that we see, all the directors and maintainers of various universes and planets, everything is ultimately annihilated. Then there is a situation of dense darkness. So he's describing this dissolution of the cosmic manifestation, and but the Supreme Lord is beyond this darkness, and he's always luminous. He's always in his dham. He's in the spiritual world, and he's shining. I take shelter of his lotus feet. So Prabhupada is describing that uh, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is beyond all this material creation. He's above everything. So this is what we have understood in the last few verses also. And he's supreme. He's beyond all the demigods. And by the influence of his energies, when everything disappears in due time, so everything is structured to dissolve, to annihilate. And so when that time comes and it gets dissolved, then there is dense darkness, but Lord is still present. Just like the sun is always shining, even though we may be experiencing darkness in our part of the world, we may experience darkness, but sun is always present somewhere else in the sky. So sun does not stop shining, but for us the darkness comes. So in similar way, the cosmic creation is dissolved, And so there is darkness, but the Supreme Lord is beyond all that and is always there. That's all I have to share about this. Any other? We read verse 5. Let's read next one.
It just a reflection, Mata. It reminds me of chapter 15, verse 12, right? Yatyaditagatam tejo jagat bhasate akhilam van.
Yes,
So that's
Mataji.
all the splendor of the sun and the moon that comes from me. Almost like that, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Anyone wants to read this one? Mataji, you want to read? Devi Gorangi Mataji.
Okay, Mataji. न यस् 8.3.6 न यस्य देवा ऋषयः पदं विदुर्
Na yasya deva rishaya padam vidur
गन्तु पुनः कोर्हिति गन्तुम् ऋतुम्
jantu punako rihati gantum iritum
यथा नटस्याकृतिभिर्विचेष्टतो
yatha natasya कृतिभिर्विचेष्टतो
दुरत्ययानुक्रमणः समावतु
दुरत्ययानुक्रमणा samavatu.
Translation. An artist on stage being covered by attractive dresses and dancing with different movements is not understood by his audience. Similarly, the activities and features of the supreme artist cannot be understood even by the demigods or great sages, and certainly not by those who are unintelligent like animals. Neither the demigods and sages nor the unintelligent can understand the features of the Lord, nor can they express in words his actual position. May that Supreme Personality of Godhead give me protection. Purport. A similar understanding was expressed by Kunti Devi. The Supreme Lord exists everywhere, within and without. He even exists within the heart. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto. Ishwarah sarvabhutanam hridesh arjuna tishtati. Thus, it is indicated that one can find the Supreme Lord within one's heart. There are many yogis trying to find him. Dhyayanavashtita tadgatena manasa pashyantiyam yoginah. Nonetheless, even great yogis, demigods, saints, and sages have been unable to understand the bodily features of that great artist, nor could they understand the meaning of his movements. What then is to be said of ordinary speculators like the so called philosophers of this material world? For them, he is impossible to understand. Therefore, we must accept the statements given by the Supreme when he kindly incarnates to instruct us. We must simply accept the word of Lord Ramchandra, Lord Krishna, and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and follow in their footsteps. Then it may be possible for us to know the purpose of their incarnations. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yuveti tatvatah vyakta deham punarjanma naiti mam eti surjana. Bhagavad Gita 4.9. If by the Lord's grace one can understand him, one will immediately be delivered, even within his material body. The material body will no longer have any function, and whatever activities take place with the body will be activities of Krishna consciousness. In this way, one may give up his body and return home back to Godhead. Very.
Mataji, please summarize.
So here, Prabhu, this shloka is glorifying the fact that greatest people they are unable to understand the gods, even the demigods, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva. They are also Bhagwan also says himself in couple of verses in Srimad Bhagavatam that it's very difficult for them to understand myself, like me. So here also Gajendra is praying that if those exalted personalities are not able to understand me like him, the Lord, then how can an unintelligent animal like elephant understood him? So he is praying in that mood. And in the purport also, Srila Prabhat is mentioning that how Kunti Devi has uh, prayed that Lord is everywhere, inside out. And uh, there are many, many yogis who are trying to find him. But it's very difficult for yogis or demigods or like sages. They cannot understand the Lord. We can try to, but we cannot understand. That's why we have to take shelter of sadhu, guru, sadhu, and shastra. We have to take their word because they have realized and they have seen or imbibed or felt, and we should take their word as black and white, like whatever they say, the guru, the shastra, the sadhu, and we have to follow that. So this is what I understood, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
I was just admiring that this verse is, just like Prabhupada said, this verse is exactly similar to one that Queen Kunti said. She said same thing. Maya javnika channam agyad dhokshajam avyayam na lakshay se mood drisha nato natyadharo yatha. So she said just like a very expert actor who's dressed as a, as
Yes,
in this.
exactly like that
So,
verse.
yeah, he cannot be understood by who he will not be recognized by other people because he is by a foolish
Dressed
observer.
up. Yes, he's dressed up in the theater, like how they change their getup. That's what, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So similarly, the Lord is the supreme artist. So the activities and features of the supreme artist cannot be understood by the ordinary people. Even and these are not ordinary people, like you said, great sages, saints, demigods, many ascetics or people that have performed a lot of austerities. Even they cannot understand. So what is the hope for unintelligent animals? And Mother Kunti says that what is the hope for a female, for a woman, when all these people cannot understand you? How can woman can understand you? So like that, there are so many similarities, but this was very, very similar. And of course, Krishna says many times in Bhagavad Gita that I can only be understood by the devotional service. He says in many places, Bhaktya Mama Abhijanati. So by pure devotional service, he can be understood. And that is very exemplified in the pastime of Damodar Leela, where a pure devotee could catch him, he bind him, whereas he cannot be caught or bound by demigod sages. He's always eluding them. So nobody by their own efforts or powers can understand him, can capture him, can bind him. It is only by the mercy of the Lord, and that is given to the pure devotees. So yes, thank you, Mataji.
Wonderful explanation, Mataji. Thank you.
I don't have anything else. Anybody else wants to share any realizations, corrections? Amazing that Gajendra is saying such wonderful prayers. He's giving the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. He's giving the opulences and powers and energies of the Supreme Lord, and how he's transcendental. He's beyond this material world. He's the cause and effect of everything, and when everything annihilates, he's still um, supremely shining in his abode, and he cannot be understood by ordinary people. What is the hope for me, an animal? So many nice things he's saying. If you're all okay, we will stop here. We can continue tomorrow. We read for an hour. We read 6 verses so far. The next verse is, it's not very long, but I think we can continue tomorrow. Is that okay? Anyone wants to share anything?
Mataji, I have one question to ask. Sorry, I joined late. I was driving.
No problem.
So if Gajendra thinks that he's an animal and he's talking about all the qualities of the Lord, how is he ignorant? Right? That's my question.
Wonderful question. Prabhuji, that's the mood of the devotees.
Devotee, yes. So that's what we can understand. Yes, that I understand. So he's already elevated. In my opinion, he didn't forget anything. Even if he's in the elephant body, he never forgot the all the qualities of the Lord, as well as the prayers related to the Lord. But I think he's just taking this stance that he's fallen.
But
So
yeah, but it's not that he's pretending. It's not, he actually feels fallen. So when pure devotees, they're saying these things like Queen Kunti is saying, it's not that they अंदर से तो सोच रहे हैं कि हम बहुत बड़े हैं और सिर्फ बोलने के लिए बोल रहे हैं. It's not like that. They're actually feeling very fallen. They're feeling very low, that oh, we have no qualifications, no bhakti, no love, no service, and they're actually feeling that way. So it's hard for someone like me to understand that mood, but I know that's the mood of all our acharyas. That's how they sing in the songs also. They are always taking a very humble position, and even though we know that they are so exalted, so such wonderful services that they have done, but internally they have a very, very humble mood which they express in their prayers. Hard for me to understand, because for me, someone like me, the internals and externals are very different. So but from what I understand, pure devotees have this mood where internally, they're very, very humble, and no matter how much they do, they never feel that it's enough. And this is in this mood they offer the prayers to the Lord. So,
yes, Mataji, I think the key message is the bhakti. Whenever there is a bhakti, the vehicle is humility. So the bhakti always travels with humility. So if humility is not there, then bhakti is destroyed.
I like that word. Oh, it's a vehicle. Humility is nice.
Thank you.
Anybody else wants to share anything? Abhiram Gopal Prabhu. I think
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for doing the conference. Unfortunately, I also missed the initial part. Just pertaining to the question which Prabhu, very nice question Prabhu asked. Like, both of you mentioned, it's because of the humility he's mentioning in such a way. But if we go back to previous situation, my understanding is that, obviously, and when he was leading the regular life as an elephant, at that time, it's not that he was displaying this mood or devotion of complete Krishna consciousness and was, necessarily aware and mindful about all those things in a conscious manner. But in the current situation in which he was put in, all those previous advanced realizations from previous birth, they are now manifesting. So this shows that sometimes living entities may be in ignorance or in a situation where they may not be manifesting their Krishna consciousness, but that actually is dormant within their heart, and at the right time, it can manifest, like in this situation, manifested in this way, and in some other situation, it can manifest in a different manner, but their spiritual advancement may remain hidden and may not manifest. And that somewhat was happening here as well, that it wasn't manifested till it came to this, which would have been appearing as a very painful situation in which he was put in, after which he, had those, prayers and everything came up. So that's my understanding and my 2 cents. Please feel free to share and make necessary corrections.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Yes, Nagarjan Prabhu, please share.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, I was thinking the same thing, because sometimes the example is given of Gajendra, that how Gajendra was he was in family life completely, and he was thinking that his family members would save him. He was the king of the elephants, and sometimes the example of his before this realization is given, that how we can get busy in material life and forget about the any kind of advancements that we may have had in previous life, and then may have become a nashvasti that that still it is always recommended to keep going and doing whatever Krishna consciousness we can do, because we don't know, even a little bit of it can save us at a difficult time. Just like again in Gajendra's case, even though he was involved in material life, but then at the right time, he was lucky that, and he was, because of his previous understanding, he was able to remember Krishna, called Vishnu at the right range.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
So, and one more thing I was thinking about was that about the humility when that was being discussed, and the mood of. So I was thinking that that is typically the mood of the Uttama Adhikaris, right? That they are always thinking that everyone else is better than us, and we at being high level, being just a neophyte, it's very difficult to understand that.
Hare Krishna. Yes, so often Gajendra's example is actually given in the category of those 4 pious people that approach the Lord. Chatur vidha bhajante mam jana sukritino arjuna artho arthartu artho jigyasur artharti jnani cha bhartarshava. So his example is given in the distressed one, artho, the one who called out in distress. So also very wonderful example of 2 things. One, that in any difficult situation, or when you, even if you have some desires, any desires you may have, you should approach the Supreme Lord and nobody else. Number 1. Number 2, I was thinking when you all were sharing that Lord puts us in certain situations to extract that humility from us, to help us get rid of the pride, and to invoke Krishna consciousness within our heart. So sometimes we are going through unfavorable situations, and instead of complaining, Gajendra is showing that we should take shelter of the Lord when one is in difficulty. And when one is in difficulty, then take shelter of the Lord and not do any other upayas or any other demigod worship or anything else, but just the Supreme Lord. So those points will come to my mind too.
Yes, Matish, I think that's the right one. I think when we have a pride, then Krishna puts us into the situation. So because he loves us so much, so in order to get the pride out, so same thing with Narad Muni, when he went having a pride, he put him in that situation. So I think that is that may be my understanding too. Maybe whenever we have a pride, then we get into this situation. We should understand that we have a pride, and Krishna is trying to eliminate that.
Yeah, pride or any other anartha, ultimately everything will be purified in this material world. The material world is meant for purification. So eventually everything has to be purified, whatever anartha we may have. Swam Bhagwan Maharaj offers this prayer, mentions this prayer many times. It is the prayer offered by one of the disciples of Prabhupada, who said that may the grinding machine of this material world, I'm just paraphrasing, please take the sense of it. May the grinding machine of this material world squeeze the sugar cane of my life and extract some humility from me. Something like that. So basically he's praying that in this world we have come to be crushed like a sugar cane, and then the sugar cane juice comes out. So I hope that I will also go through this material world in similar grinding manner, and then the sugarcane of humility will come out. Sugarcane juice of humility will come out. Okay, that's all. Anybody else has any other comments, realizations? Shall we stop? Meet tomorrow again at the same time. Okay, we'll stop. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All
Hey,
glories.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mother.
All
Hare
the
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Take
Thank you, Mother.
Kalturugis Kripa Sindhu.
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्ण। Thank you.